you ever wondered what it feels like to sit across from your doctor and hear the words, "Your kidneys are failing"? There's nothing we can do. Now start preparing for dialysis. Most people freeze in that moment.
How are we doing
Their world
today?
collapses in seconds, and every dream for the future shrinks down to a hospital chair and a humming machine that will decide how long they live. But what if that terrifying sentence isn't always the end? What if there was a way through disciplined science and the right guidance to turn the story around? I'm Dr. Johnny, and today I want to take you inside a journey that shocked even the medical community. A real patient who was told her kidneys were too far gone. Stage 4, chronic kidney disease, GFR, barely above 15. She wasn't expected to recover, she was expected to survive. Yet what happened next defied every prediction. Before you scroll away thinking this is just another miracle headline, listen closely. Because this story isn't about blind luck or secret herbs, it's about precise, proven steps that retrained her body to function again. It's a blueprint of how discipline met science and how hope met evidence. And that's why I'm asking you to stay with me. In the next few minutes, you'll see exactly what she ate, what treatments were used the moment she almost gave up, and how her lab numbers, once a death sentence, slowly climbed back toward normal. This isn't theory, it's a real-life transformation. So take a deep breath, because what you're about to hear may challenge everything you thought you knew about kidney failure. And perhaps it might just change the way you see your own health forever. When most people hear the words stage 4 chronic kidney disease, they imagine a point of no return. I've seen it hundreds of times, that look of disbelief, the quiet pause before the question every patient asks, is there any chance my kidneys can heal? The truth. At this stage, kidney function has fallen to just 15 to 29 milliliters per minute. That means your body is filtering waste at less than a third of what it once could. Toxins build up like traffic on a highway, with all lanes closed, and every system in the body starts to feel the crash. Fluid begins to collect around the ankles and eyes. Potassium rises sometimes to levels that can stop a heartbeat. Phosphorus climbs, leaching calcium from the bones and turning blood vessels hard as stone. Even the blood itself becomes acidic, forcing the heart and lungs to work overtime just to keep balance. And as if that weren't enough, the hormone that tells your bone marrow to make red blood cells shuts down, leading to exhaustion so deep that even climbing the stairs feels impossible. Now imagine being told that this is permanent, that nothing you do will ever make those numbers move upward again. That's the sentence millions of people live under. Doctors aren't cruel. They simply follow the data that says fewer nephrons mean less filtration, and dead nephrons don't grow back. So the system focuses on slowing the fall, not reversing it. But that limited vision keeps countless patients trapped in fear instead of possibility. I remember one woman looking at me and whispering, "Dr. Johnny, if my kidneys are dying, does that mean I am too?" It's a question that cuts deeper than lab results. And it's where every transformation begins, not in a pill or a diet plan, but in the moment someone decides to fight the statistics. Because while textbooks say stage 4 means decline, biology sometimes surprises us. Recent research from the American Journal of Nephrology found that when metabolic stress, diet, and inflammation are controlled simultaneously, a portion of patients can regain measurable GFR improvement within 12 months. That doesn't mean everyone will reverse it, but it proves something vital: the door isn't locked, it's just rarely opened. And this is exactly where our patient's story takes its first real turn. She refused to accept the script that ends with dialysis. She wanted a plan, not blind hope, but structure and science. That's where the real battle began. But knowing what stage 4 means isn't enough, because there's one trigger hiding in plain sight that silently accelerates kidney decline far faster than most people realize. Just as her lab results confirmed, stage 4 reality struck hard. Within weeks, her legs began to swell, her eyelids puffed up every morning, and shortness of breath turned every step into a battle. One afternoon, she called me, her voice trembling, "Dr. Johnny, I can't even walk across the room without gasping." When we ran her tests again, her creatinine had spiked even higher. The nephrologist on call suggested preparing for dialysis. That moment felt like a door slamming shut, but instead of collapsing, she paused and something changed. Fear turned into focus. She said, "If this is my fight, then I'll fight it the smart way." It wasn't denial, it was defiance built on logic. She started asking deeper questions. What could she still control? What could be reversed, and where science might give her another chance? We gathered a small team, another nephrologist for a second opinion, a renal dietitian, and myself to oversee the integration between treatment, food, and mindset. Every choice from that point on was deliberate. Every pill, every glass of water, every minute of sleep became part of her strategy. She didn't look for miracles, she built a plan. And that shift in mindset changed everything. A 2023 meta-analysis in Kidney International Reports shows that patients who actively participate in treatment decisions are 40% more likely to stabilize or improve GFR compared to those who stay passive. Motivation literally rewires adherence, and adherence saves function. When you believe the effort matters, your body follows. Her first goal was simple: stop the free fall. She committed to medication precision, no skip doses, no herbal shortcuts. She tracked blood pressure twice a day, logged fluid intake, and sent updates to her care team weekly. Within a month, swelling eased and energy flickered back. The results weren't miraculous yet, but they were measurable, and that's where hope starts to breathe. You see, recovery doesn't begin in the kidneys, it begins in the mind that refuses to surrender. And her story proves that the turning point isn't a medical event, it's a psychological one. Once she believed progress was possible, the numbers began to follow that belief. But believing alone still isn't enough, because there's another battlefield that decides whether that fragile progress will last or fade the food on your plate. And that's where the story takes its next surprising turn. Once her mindset shifted, the real work began. We built what I call the Kidney Comeback Protocol, a structured plan blending precision medicine with daily discipline. The first mission was to calm the chaos inside her bloodstream: high phosphate rising potassium, metabolic acidosis. Each of these was a fire quietly burning through her body. If we didn't put them out one by one, no diet or mindset would matter. Her nephrologist introduced a carefully balanced set of medications. An ACE inhibitor to protect what nephrons were left and reduce protein leakage. Phosphate binders to capture excess phosphorus before it could harden her arteries. Potassium binders to pull dangerous electrolytes back into a safe range. A low dose of sodium bicarbonate to neutralize acid and protect muscle tissue. And because her hemoglobin had dropped, erythropoietin and iron therapy were added to rebuild red cell strength. Every prescription was tracked like a mission log. Dosages weren't static, they evolved as her kidneys slowly responded. When creatinine began to drop, her doctor didn't celebrate with big headlines. He whispered, "Let's confirm it twice, because recovery isn't about one lucky result. It's about sustained movement in the right direction." To support the process, we scheduled bi-weekly labs, sometimes weekly when things felt uncertain. Those numbers became her scoreboard. I still remember the morning we saw her GFR tick upward for the first time from 22 to 27. It was small, but it meant her kidneys were listening. According to data from the National Kidney Foundation, even a 5-point GFR improvement can reduce dialysis risk by nearly 30%. That one number gave her more motivation than any motivational quote ever could. At home, she mirrored the same precision, waking up at the same hour, checking her weight to detect fluid retention, adjusting water intake by a few ounces when her ankles looked puffy. Every detail mattered. And as the lab sheets filled with progress, she began to see that science wasn't her enemy, it was her roadmap. Still, recovery is rarely a straight climb. There were weeks when the numbers froze, when fatigue whispered that maybe the first results were just luck. That's when she learned one of the hardest lessons of healing: consistency beats intensity. It's not about dramatic changes, it's about small, boring victories repeated every single day. But only focusing on medicine isn't enough, because even the best prescription can't undo what's happening in the kitchen. And what she discovered about food shocked her, and might shock you too. Medication gave her stability, but food gave her power. Because even the best drug can only hold the line. What you eat determines which side of that line you live on. When her kidneys were at their weakest, every bite became a calculation between healing and harm. We started by stripping the diet down to its safest core. Protein was limited to 0.6 grams per kilogram, not starvation, but precision. Phosphorus had to stay below 1,000 milligrams, potassium between 2,000 and 3,000, sodium under 2,000. It sounds like numbers on a chart, but those numbers decide how hard the kidneys must fight to keep the blood clean. So we built meals that treated food like medicine. Mornings began with egg white omelets and a few low-potassium fruits blended into a light smoothie. Lunches were white fish and steamed vegetables, dinners lean chicken or tofu with cauliflower rice, no processed snacks, no bottled drinks hiding phosphate additives. Each plate looked simple, but each one bought her kidneys another day of rest. The first few weeks were brutal. She missed flavor, variety, normalcy. "I feel punished," she told me once. I reminded her, it's not punishment, it's precision. And as her lab results improved, she started to believe it. Creatinine dropped from 3.7 to 3.2, phosphorus steadied, potassium normalized. For the first time, food felt like control instead of restriction. Science backs this shift. Studies in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition show that a properly balanced low-phosphate, moderate-protein diet can slow CKD progression by up to 35%, not because it fixes the kidneys directly, but because it reduces the daily workload on every surviving nephron. Every low-phosphorus meal is like giving those nephrons a breath of fresh air. Over time, she mastered the rhythm. She prepped meals on Sundays, used lemon and herbs instead of salt, rotated fruits, apples, grapes, blueberries to avoid excess potassium. The kitchen, once her enemy, became her clinic, and the more consistent she became, the calmer her numbers looked. Still, the plan wasn't just about nutrients, it was about how food changed her psychology. Cooking turned into meditation. Structure turned into hope. When you rebuild your health 3 times a day, discipline becomes a lifestyle. Yet even this powerful transformation had its limits, because diet heals the body, but it can't quiet the mind that still fears relapse. And stress-silent, constant stress can undo months of progress in days. But knowing this still isn't enough, because there's another factor even more dangerous that hides inside every sleepless night and anxious thought. And it can silently destroy kidney recovery if left unchecked. You can have the perfect diet, the best medication plan, and the cleanest lab results, but if your body lives in constant stress, your kidneys never get to rest. Because stress isn't just in your mind, it's a chemical storm that seeps into every cell. When cortisol and adrenaline stay elevated for too long, blood pressure spikes, blood vessels tighten, and insulin sensitivity drops. Over time, that perfect renal diet starts fighting uphill. Every anxious night, every restless sleep, every argument that lingers in your head quietly pushes the kidneys closer to exhaustion. And that's exactly what she was facing. Even as her numbers improved, she couldn't shake the fear of what if it all comes back. I remember one evening when she texted me at 1:30 a.m., "Doctor, Johnny, I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I imagine the dialysis machine." That's when I knew we had to fix more than just her lab results. We had to fix her rhythm of living. So we made a new rule: healing happens 24 hours a day, not just during clinic hours. She began gentle walks at sunrise, no headphones, no distractions, just breathing. We introduced 10 minutes of deep diaphragmatic breathing before bed to trigger her parasympathetic system, the body's repair mode. We tracked sleep quality, not just hours, and replaced her late-night scrolling with journaling, 3 lines of gratitude. Within weeks, something remarkable happened. Her blood pressure stabilized without needing dose adjustments. Her morning fatigue started fading, and her body language, the slumped shoulders, the nervous tapping, was replaced by quiet confidence. It wasn't placebo, it was physiology. Research from the Journal of Psychoneuroendocrinology shows that consistent mindfulness and sleep restoration can lower average systolic blood pressure by 10 out of 12 points and reduce cortisol levels by nearly 30%. Less stress means better blood flow, better filtration, and better outcomes. The key here wasn't perfection. Some days she still felt fear creeping back in, but instead of spiraling, she learned to pause, to breathe, to remind herself, "I'm healing, not just surviving." That mindset became her shield, because kidney recovery is not a sprint. It's a long-distance relationship with your body. And when mind and body finally aligned, her progress accelerated faster than any of us expected. But as powerful as this transformation was, there was still one barrier left, one that most patients overlook completely. But just knowing this isn't enough, because there's another factor far more dangerous that determines whether all your progress holds or disappears overnight. No healing journey moves in a straight line. Just when everything seems stable, progress can stall, and that's where most people quit. For her, it happened 4 months in. Her creatinine had been falling like a steady heartbeat, but suddenly it froze. 3.2, 3.2, 3.2. 3 tests in a row. No movement. At first, she shrugged it off. Then came the swelling again, subtle but familiar. Her potassium crept back up. The fear returned like an echo she'd been trying to forget. I'll never forget that day she sat in my office, eyes tired, voice quiet. "Dr. Johnny, did I do something wrong?" No, she hadn't. This was the Plateau, the silent test that breaks most patients before the disease ever does. Every transformation, whether physical or emotional, comes with these flat lines. The body pauses, recalibrates, learns. But when you don't understand that, it feels like failure. We went back to the drawing board, reviewed every lab, every medication, every meal. A small adjustment here, lowering phosphorus slightly. A timing tweak there, moving her protein intake earlier in the day. And most importantly, I reminded her of the golden rule of recovery: don't mistake silence for defeat. Biologically, plateaus aren't punishment, they're protection. Studies in Nature Metabolism show that during periods of slowed progress, the body's repair pathways like NRF2 and AMPK actually activate more strongly to stabilize internal systems. It's the body's way of saying, hold on, I'm consolidating the gains before the next leap. And that's exactly what happened. 2 weeks later, her labs shifted again, small but unmistakable. Creatinine dropped to 3.0, GFR climbed by 2 points, and the swelling vanished. The relief in her eyes was pure fire. I thought it was over, she said. Turns out it was just a pause. That pause taught her more than any doctor ever could. It taught patience the medicine no pharmacy can sell. She learned that recovery isn't about speed. It's about staying long enough for healing to happen. Still, even as the numbers improved, she faced one last challenge, not in her blood, not in her food, but in her own emotions. Because when you've lived for months believing your kidneys might fail, even recovery can feel unreal. But just knowing this isn't enough, because there's another factor even more powerful that determines whether you simply survive or truly live again. Then it happened quietly, almost unannounced. No dramatic hospital moment, no miracle headline, just a lab result that made everyone stop breathing for a second. Her eGFR crossed 60. For the first time in years, her kidneys were functioning within the normal range. I stared at the numbers, then at her face, and for a rare moment in medicine, both science and emotion said the same thing: she made it. Her next few tests confirmed it wasn't a fluke. Creatinine held steady. Phosphate normalized. Hemoglobin rose. Her blood pressure settled into perfect rhythm, and she started describing something doctors don't often hear: peace. She could sleep through the night without waking and panic walk through the park, without shortness of breath, and laugh. Genuinely laugh without the shadow of dialysis hanging over her head. That's the moment we realized recovery doesn't always announce itself with trumpets. Sometimes it arrives in silence, in normal blood work, calm mornings, and the absence of pain. And when that happens, every sacrifice, every early bedtime, every flavorless meal suddenly makes sense. But we didn't stop there. We ran repeat tests over the next 6 months, and they held. The data told the truth. According to the European Renal Journal, sustained GFR normalization beyond 12 weeks is clinically considered functional recovery, not remission. Her kidneys weren't just surviving, they were working again. And here's the deeper lesson. Her success wasn't just about medicine or food or luck, it was about synergy, each piece amplifying the other. Medication set the foundation, nutrition reduced the load. Mindset gave direction, and consistency tied it all together. That's what turns biology into resilience. She once told me, Dr. Johnny, I feel like I've been given a second life. I told her, you didn't get it, you built it. Because that's what recovery really is: not a gift, but a construction built one disciplined day at a time. Still, her journey carries a warning too. Success can make people relax, skip checkups, ease back into old habits. And kidneys, though forgiving, never forget. True healing isn't reaching normal numbers, it's maintaining them. And that's where the real work begins, because once you've rebuilt your health, the next challenge is protecting it for the rest of your life. But knowing this still isn't enough, because there's one final truth, the one that separates those who simply recover from those who stay healthy for decades. If you've watched this far, it means you care not just about surviving, but about truly living. And that already puts you ahead of where most people start. Remember this: your kidneys are fighters. They don't give up easily, and neither should you. Whether you're in stage 2, stage 3, or even stage 4, progress is still possible when you decide to work with your body instead of against it. Take care of the small things, stay hydrated, keep your blood pressure stable, eat clean, rest deeply, and never skip your follow-up labs. Healing is built on habits, not miracles. And if you ever feel alone in this journey, know that there's an entire community here fighting beside you. If today's story gave you clarity, courage, or even a little hope, do one thing right now: save this video so you can revisit it whenever you need motivation, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next breakthrough in kidney health. Every week I share new science, real patient journeys, and practical tips that can help you or someone you love protect their kidneys for life. And finally, hold on to this truth. Your numbers don't define your future, your actions do. Healing isn't luck, it's daily decisions wrapped in hope. You have more control than you think. So stay strong, stay consistent, and stay curious, because your best health story might still be ahead.